Yeah, first of all, thanks again for taking the time to be a part of my research for the first time talking to you. I'm doing a pop master. I'm a drummer as well, and I'm doing a master pop drums. And my research is about incorporating new vocabulary in my own way of playing. I'm researching 3 drummers. One is you. You're the first one I'm researching, and I'm kind of curious to know like the core idea behind your vocabulary. So I got a few questions about that, like what your inspirations are, those kind of things, and then a little deeper into odd time groupings, and how you would incorporate that in a more pop commercial setting, if you ever do that. I'm very curious about that. So let's start with I know you studied at Berkeley, but besides that, what is your musical background?
Besides that, my dad, he's a guitar player, and until I was 8 years old, he was a professional guitar player. That was his only source of income, so we were broke.
Oh yeah. As a musician, it's not a very nice income. No, I know.
Yeah, but
that started the spark for you.
And when I turned 8, that's when he purchased the music store that he owned for probably 15 years. Nice. And so there was like a community that I was constantly exposed to. They couldn't necessarily afford a babysitter, so we'd go to the music store.
You were there always. Yeah Nice.
And they were trying to get us involved in music before that point, but at that point is kind of when it started. That's when I started playing drums, is when I was 8. And cool. I just kind of started doing it naturally
by ear,
in the music store. First. Yeah. Nice. I wasn't taking to guitar how he wished I would.
Yeah, he would have preferred you to play guitar.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sick. Yeah, I can imagine if your son plays guitar and you play guitar as well, that would have been fuck it, right? Why not?
Yeah, he wanted like a little Derek Trucks.
Cool. But you chose the drums anyway.
It was good more
decision.
My speed. Yeah.
Can you play guitar, like anything, or?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm so, although I'm schooled in like jazz harmony, and I learned that at Berkeley.
Yeah.
I'm really not conscious of harmony when I play guitar. I'm just kind of conscious of shapes and sounds, and I like modal stuff. So I like take chords and kind of like move them up a half step or whole step, or down a half step, and kind of play with those sorts of things. But not as much as keys. Keys has kind of become my primary writing tool.
Really? For animals as well, or for other projects?
Just in general. Yeah. And I mean, although like the stuff that I contribute most times in compositions are rhythmic based.
Yeah.
They're motifs. I still prefer to have some sort of musical context that that allows me to work on them, as opposed to just having some metronome that's playing this motif over and over. I start to compose, and I'll like build a bass line or some chords or some arpeggiated thing, or basically outlining the motifs.
And it's not starting with the drums. The drums come in later then, or?
Yeah. So like I actually, when composing drum stuff, I prefer motifs. So like, it's really music based rather than just drum based or something like that.
Melodic even sometimes, or?
they would call it like you call it like playing a melody on the
Yeah,
drum, you know, but
cool.
it's not actually a melody. It's a rhythmic phrase.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
just comes from your head, like something you, yeah. How do you
Yeah, it's
come up with something like
usually
that?
they're, you know, classically I would say I like a series of numbers, because most phrases can be broken down into that. But like really what that is just the most easily accessible tool to describe something.
Yeah,
So
to break
we
it
have,
down. Yeah,
yeah, so you know, there's a typical way that 7/4 is played, and it's usually phrased as, you know, a group of four, a group of four, and a group of three, and a group of three. And so something that I'll do, when I come to that revelation, is that I'll be like, okay, well, this seems to be the direction everyone is going, and when they're playing 7/4, and I would like to be creative. I would like to go in a
yeah,
new direction. So how about I change around those numbers, and I'll mess with like a 3/3/4/4, 3/4/4/3,
yeah.
and it's this sort of experimenting
Like
that,
building blocks and shifting them around and making a new order. Yeah,
yeah.
cool.
And then, you know, on top of it, you know, you can layer concepts, and one of the concepts that I'm really interested in uh, developing right now, because of its musical and compositional uh, applications, is metric modulation by way of a phrase. So instead of just, you know, having a groove that you're playing and then you modulate to the triplet or you modulate to the dotted, um, you know, usually before doing that, you want some sort of, like, you want to be implying the dotted before you go to the dotted, right?
Yeah, to not have that
And
harsh. Yeah,
exactly,
going
exactly.
in there. Yeah, cold blood. Yeah, yeah,
It's the same kind of concept
yeah.
that, you know, melodic instruments play with whenever they call it a direct modulation, when you're just
Mm,
one spot and then you just modulate up a half step. Like singers do it like at the end of a song when they're
yeah,
trying to get like in the higher,
yeah.
most upper register,
And
and
you
it's
want to
usually,
like tease already the new vibe you're going into.
yeah, so like a direct modulation is kind of what I was getting at, is like more harsh, you know, it's more like, okay, you just go ahead and going
Yeah,
there, which, you know, usually like key changes and stuff, you want them to be massaged in some sort of way, so there's some feeling that there's um a shifting of emotion, and that's essentially what I'm trying to do,
yeah,
uh by having like so like, you know, like I said, like there's 4/4/3/3 is the typical way to have seven laid out, and if you do, you know, three over that four, those fours, and two over the threes, then the rates are actually very similar. So, you know, four divided by three would be, you know, 1.3. Three divided by two would be 1.5. You know, they're
oh yeah,
similar. They're similar enough. Um, so like uh, that ends up, those rates end up being similar enough that it sounds like it's an even rate, and it's just 3/3/2/2, and you're essentially modulating from 7 to 5.
yeah, sick.
So like instead of
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I'm still in seven in my head, but like I'm able to play it, you know,
sick.
over that, you know,
Yeah, yeah, cool.
yeah. So like
Sick.
that's like the most, you know, easily accessible example.
You're
But
already
like,
answering questions I was preparing to ask you later in this. Yeah, but it's very interesting to hear this,
yeah.
because I
So
wanted to ask you like um all these groupings. Can you play that in different resolutions? But yeah, this already explains it. Like it doesn't matter in which resolution you play, or like triplets, 16s, or you can incorporate those patterns you learned in every resolution, I guess.
yeah, it it depends on how long the sequence is. But if it's a short sequence, like you have a group of 3
Mm-hmm.
or a group of 6 or a group of 5, and it's orchestrated at some pattern, I always put that in triplets in 16th notes, and then it's native.
Time signature impact. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Or kind of.
it's not its well, it's native time signature, but also it's native division. So like if it's a group of 3, its native division is triplets. I already covered
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Ah, yes. Yeah.
5, then I want to put it in
Quintuplets.
quintuplets now.
Yeah.
When and also like I kind of avoid most drummers that are like technical drummers, they're that's kind of the thing. They'll like be like, okay, well, I need to put that 5 in a set in septuplets as well, and I need to put it in like 11s. What if I were to, and they get crazy with that stuff. But personally, I avoid that because I don't think it's as musical. I think it's extremely difficult for the human ear to hear that sort of dissonance
Yeah.
rhymically. And like,
So
I
when
don't
are you ever going to use that? Yeah.
yeah, when are you ever going to use it? And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like my central philosophy. You were kind of asking about that, like what I think it is, and I think it's that I want to elevate music utilizing advanced techniques,
Yeah.
and I don't necessarily think it should be blatant. I like the idea of having it be very nuanced and almost like
Mm.
undetectable,
So you're playing very fancy stuff, but to the audience, the core beat is still very much recognizable. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, you asked about the like, could I ever put it in pop or something? And that's
Yeah.
something that I'm very much wanting to do right now, is be able to I think I'm pulling it off.
Yeah.
Because I'll do it basically the same way that I'm thinking about like metric modulations in terms of like a phrase that you're just altering the amount of notes inside of each little part. You can
Mm-hmm.
break down, most pop stuff is in a kind of narrow bandwidth of phrases, and like
Yeah.
one big one is like there's a lot of 3/4 sort of thing, like, or groups of 3,
Mm-hmm.
kind of bastardized groups of 3, and it comes from like having just a doom do get the dooms doom that comes from but
Yeah.
it comes from
Groups of 3.
yeah,
Yeah.
3/2
Yeah.
originally, and finding the natives finding a way to put that in 4. And so like I'll take like a groove that's like
Yeah. Cool.
and
So
it's
you're
and it's
working
like,
in that resolution, but it's like not that disruptive because the audience already knows 3/4 is kind of, yeah, used a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like right then that was a dotted quintuplet. So it's like,
Can you do that again? Really?
yeah, so like
Yeah. Yeah.
So you could be like, "Doons, ka, oons, ka, doons, oons, oons, ka, oons, taka, 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 dish, ka, doons, ka, oons, dish, oons, ka, oons, tits, taka, taka, dish." I mean, you could put fours in there too, and it's just dotted, doons, ka, oons, ka, taka, 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 dish, ka, doon, doon, and it gives it like a
little bit more flavor, a little bit more
yeah, like almost like
interestingness.
a falling feel. But like most,
Ah, yeah,
the I think ultimately what I'm getting at is like I want to understand how the human ear kind of naturally works and exploit that. And I think we're kind of thinking of it um a little bit wrong in traditional uh theory, because we're like, hey, you know what really works is 4/4, having everything in 4/4. People they like to hear 16th notes and they like to hear it in 4/4, you
mm.
know. So subdivide each four beats into four, and people can, hold on to
Bang
that.
their
But it's
heads
like,
to it. Yeah,
but
yeah,
you're having groups that are underlying this 4/4, like groups of three in there and stuff, and people don't bat an eyelash. So I think it's really about like the human ear is set up to hear phrases, and we're set up to kind of hear those melodies. So if you have like a rhythmic melody and you want to do some crazy stuff in there, um, that's a way to still get that
advanced things
the
into a
advanced
more
concepts across.
commercial
Yeah,
gig. Yeah,
different colors, because
yeah,
that's essentially the idea behind playing different time signatures. Why play different time signatures? Why not just stick everything in 4/4? Why play
yeah,
different things in 4/4? Well, because it's different flavors, different
yeah.
ideas, different.
It gives a different feel. It gives a different
Yeah,
ambience. Like, yeah,
yeah.
cool. Um, let's go back to your drum teachers. Who were your teacher? Who taught you like from the start? Or was in
Um,
Berkeley, was that your first real drum teacher? Or
no, no. My dad, of course, was teaching me, and I was jamming with him, and he was,
he knew the basics as well? Or
yeah, and not necessarily drums, but he was teaching me about music,
yeah,
and
cool.
listening to music is and growing up in a family that uh, likes to listen to music and are fans of music, I think is very important, because
Yeah,
ultimately it's music is a culture, and it's not just some um, educational, mathematical, theoretical thing to elevate your child's intelligence. It's
no, that's true. No,
it's something
yeah,
to it's something that, as humans brings so much joy to us. And um
yeah,
even if to the point where you could be it keeps people from taking their own lives.
that is so
uh,
true. Yeah,
so like, yeah, I think that was really the beginning. And
and
then
then yeah,
I was 8 years old, and he had the music store, and uh, I got a drum teacher. He got me a drum teacher, Clark Siebold. He was a jazz guy, but like
cool.
he knew a bunch of rock stuff, and he knew how to teach beginners. So I was very fortunate to have him. And then yeah, around like 12 or something like that, John Adams started teaching me, and he had a whole other wealth of knowledge, and he taught me um about Vinnie Colaiuta, and would take me through different books, like the double bass drumming
Yeah,
encyclopedia book, and he would give me licks sometimes. And then when I was 16, I started taking lessons from this guy Bob Galati, because um I was playing with this guy Joe Salins, and he was a mentor for me, and he was, from age 14 he was teaching me all sorts of Latin rhythms, African rhythms, funk stuff. He was teaching me about all the fusion guys, Chicorea, Mahavishnu Orchestra,
like
and all those bands. And So I really like started to get it immersed into like, oh, there's, Dave Weckl, Steve Gadd, Vinny Colaiuta, and Dennis Chambers and
Yeah.
Gary Novak, and all these guys had their swing together. They had
Their
really fun
signature
swing.
style. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I was like, my teacher, my mentor, Joe Salins, was like, if you really want to be one of the best in the world, you got to swing. All the best guys, they all can swing. So I'm like, oh shit. And my
I gotta
dad and
step up my game. Yeah.
yeah, he found this jazz teacher in Boston, which was 2 hours from where we lived. We lived in Western Mass on the other side of Massachusetts. So
Oh, sick.
once every couple of weeks, my dad would drive me out there, and he is actually Bob Galati is the one who taught me quintuplets and septuplets and all these weird divisions. He gave me the table of time, starting with one note per quarter note, all the way up to
Oh,
like
yeah.
13 or 15 or something like that. And he was started teaching me permutations, which is like, taking a set pattern that you have and
Shift
displacing
it. Yeah.
it, either
Yeah.
the whole thing over a 16th note or just one of the voices. But
Yeah.
really it was the whole thing. He was like, make a funk pattern that's a busy funk pattern, like, and write it out. And you think it's cool, you think it's hip, and have some open hi-hats maybe or something, or and then you know move it right out every single.
Yeah.
And like he gave me a couple permutations first, but then had me doing that stuff, and I was like, oh shit. And then he's like, now play it in triplets. So he'd have me playing
Yeah. Oh, shit.
a 4/4 per 16th note 4/4 permutation in triplets. So you'd have to play you know the bar 3 times before it lined up.
Yeah.
But that was nuts.
That
And
is
then
ear training, dude. Like, yeah.
yeah, and then I remember one time either he requested it from me or I just had so much extra time that I was like, hey, I did it in quintuplets too, you know?
You
And
did
like,
that yourself, or he asked it? Yeah. I don't know.
yeah.
Oh, sick.
I think I might have did it myself. I don't know if I did every single permutation, but it was like,
Jesus. You
yeah.
just thought it was fun to study that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I think I can do this.
Are you a very systematic person, like drumming wise? Is it always like systems and yeah?
Well, I think it's very useful.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to when I like something, I don't just want to acquire the single piece of information. I want to break it down into, what I like about it and various pieces that I can, take apart and use in a variety of contexts, whether it's just one lick. I like to, break it up into little pieces and see if I can rearrange maybe
Yeah.
some pieces. Um,
That's how you make it your own. Yeah.
yeah, do a triplet version or something like that. And then, but, as I've gotten older, the older that I get, the more that I see a clear importance for less structured practice, because
Why?
because at the end of the day, not that I don't value structured practice anymore, but it's because I've seen so many players that are not structured individuals at all, and they're naturals, and it can be very powerful
Hmm.
what they come up with and
Yeah.
what they're capable of doing.
Does
So
that depend on your personality as well? Maybe.
I think it does, but I
Yeah.
think us as people, we're more um, fluid than we think. Like you tend to we have this idea, oh, are you a type A personality or type B?
Yeah.
And I can tell you that it's kind of changed for me. When I was a kid, I was very type B. I was very free, very open, very creative, and just wild, and not paying attention and trying to do things my own way.
Yeah.
And as I decided that I wanted to do music and play drums professionally and be one of the best, I realized the importance for structure, and so I became a very structured person.
Yeah.
And I became a very focused person and methodical person. And then over the years, you know, throughout college, I started to see an important. I saw downsides to being systematic, and there's this chasm between essentially acquiring a bunch of information and being able to play information, and then being able to play music. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like there's a difference between performing information and playing music. That's the way I would phrase it, because like,
The
you
latter
know,
is more with your heart, with your feeling, and the first is more with
yeah,
your brain, I guess, like muscle memory or something.
yes. And that can be very powerful too,
Hmm.
because you can build that up over time, and you can play these crazy things that you would never be able to play just, you know, freely. But then again, there's these things that can happen just by us embracing the sort of yin. So we have the yang, which is the structured stuff, the day,
Yeah.
the, you know, I'm working on this stuff, I'm going to arrange stuff, I'm going to compose stuff. And then something magical happens at night whenever we start to enter into the chaos and improvise, and we
Yeah.
don't know what the hell we're going to play, but we're free to create on the spot. And when we've developed ourselves enough in this area, um
It bleeds more into the other area.
we're primed to play with those ideas more, and that's really the
Yeah.
true spirit of man, of being creative, as
Yeah.
we want to explore. We don't want to be locked in our rooms
No.
behind a laptop typing out sheets of paper that, oh, I came up with this awesome pattern, and
Yeah.
now I'm going to practice it, and oh man, I feel so fulfilled, you know.
And you never got to use it in a real gig situation. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
maybe not.
Yeah. Now I feel so fulfilled. Yeah. I don't think so.
But the thing about like the entering the chaos and like and going into this realm of like improvising and allowing ourselves to be free and potentially sound like crap and make a mistake, is that if you're not accustomed to doing that, then you're well, you haven't practiced it, so you're not going to be very good at it. You haven't practiced letting go. In fact, what you've been practicing is holding on and sounding good and keeping things rigidly, knowing what you're going to play.
So that's a thing, a separate thing to practice as well. Like that mindset, letting go and allowing yourself to fail or to
Yes.
just be in the moment and come up with shit. Yeah.
Yep.
But that's sometimes that doesn't work, I guess. Like sometimes you don't get into that mindset. I can't imagine you have that every gig.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And especially with animals, you know, it's like it's most of the time I'm doing performative stuff. I'm there's stuff that I've created
Yeah.
already, and the parts are written, and
Yeah.
so I'm
Pre-composed things. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't have the entire gig to get in that sort of headspace. I've got these small moments where it's like, okay, now go,
Yeah.
you know. But even then, I still have um a leash that I'm on in some sense, because I'm tied to a click, and I'm tied to, usually when I'm soloing, it's I mean, every time that I'm soloing in animals, it's never free. I'm playing over a phrase. I'm soloing over a phrase. So my phrases have to be tied to
Kind of
that.
related to that. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah.
related. I'm kind of like a little bit like, you know, like
But does
that.
that bother you, or is that like a Yeah, how would you say that? Is that a challenge as well
I'm
to make something new out of that situation every time?
It's more challenging, but um at this point I'm so specialized in doing that it kind
Mm,
of it helps feature me. I can like I've acquired so many patterns, and that, yes, it gives me some restrictions, but um
you know how to deal with it now.
I'm actually pretty good with being restricted.
Cool.
There's always some sort of box that you're usually in anyways.
Yeah,
So
that's true. But talking about restrictions and taking that further, like, do you play in more simple, I don't know how to say that, simple pop settings as well? Do you do that sometimes, or jams, or because
yeah,
Animals is so progressive? And yeah, do you like to even
find
play
it.
those kind of things still?
I do.
Cool.
I do some local gigs here in neo soul stuff. Um,
Is it like a jam
and
session or like cover things or
yeah, jam session. So
cool?
it's completely open, which is awesome. That's it. That's even better because,
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up playing in like bars and stuff when I was, when I was 11 or 12 years old. I was playing in bars and playing covers, and
Uh-huh.
it's not as fulfilling.
Have you ever had a cover band?
I
Like
mean,
a pop cover
I've
band or something?
played
Like a
in
party
cover
band?
bands.
Yeah?
I've played in other people's cover bands.
Was that
Um,
fun?
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I mean, it
Yeah, why
honestly,
not?
it gives me something else to do because like I'm sort of the philosophy that everything helps,
Yeah.
and so I don't want to just be a technical guy or just do that stuff. Like I find there's beauty in simple pop music and rock
Yeah.
and neo soul, and that can, the more that you do that stuff, the better your feel gets, and
Yeah.
better you can make the odd time stuff feel. And to be honest, that's part of the problem I think right now with technical music being
So on the grid, so programmed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a problem, and it makes it less accessible for people when there's not feel, and the players themselves tend to be so engrossed in the technical aspect
Forget the feel part.
they forget the feel part, and it's a whole other discipline that you
Yeah.
kind of have 20 or 25% of your foot in to really be able to make that other stuff
Yeah.
take off, and to remember kind of your roots, because otherwise you get caught up in playing 5/7/9/3 and all this complicated stuff that doesn't sound good.
It gets a little robotical and everyone could have played that. It's not a unique voice of someone playing it. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we end up just being robots playing music, so
That's the
um
downside of metal programming right now. Yeah. It's all sample based. That is so nice that you, because that I can imagine that your demos start as that as well, and then you play like your own live performance over that in a studio for Animals, for example.
yeah, hold on, say that again.
Your demos, like the first drafts, and are they have programmed drums, I guess,
Yeah, yeah.
and then you have to make what you've created something human-ish.
Yeah, well, usually I know that ahead of time. When I'm
Yeah,
programming, I know what I would play naturally.
yeah,
Um, and I don't know, maybe that's comes from being like an introspective person or reflective person that's very like analyzes,
yeah,
you know, like because I'm always trying to figure out anything cool that I do improvising. I'm like, okay, I want to bottle that, and okay, now I gotta recreate it essentially,
yeah.
so constantly trying to do that makes you more aware of what you do tend to play. But that being
Yeah.
said, even when stuff is programmed, in the demo phase, there's new stuff that I end up coming up with,
While
when
programming or while recording it?
well, before recording. So
Mm.
there's, it's programmed and we're making a demo, and then I'm going to record the drums as I'm learning everything and acquiring it, making sure that I'm, going to perform it pristinely, in the studio. There comes these waves of inspiration, and I'm like, oh, this or that, what am, and
That's cool.
so those things end up getting cemented, and even after the album is recorded often, and I go back to learn it before we go on tour,
yeah,
I'll end up coming up with something else.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, oh, cool. Well, I'm adding that now. So it's almost like the composition, stays alive.
It kind of starts forming when you've recorded it, and then it's living its own life, and then you make it like,
yeah. And it should, music should, it should breathe, and it should have some element of that. But yeah, I mean, over time, stuff gets solidified and cemented.
But that's cool.
But yeah, you go see somebody live that's been playing the same stuff for 5 to 10 years, and like it gets brutal.
You have to make it interesting for yourself. Yeah.
Well, for the listener, it gets
as well.
For the listener, because they're hearing, when we play Wave of Babies live, it's like we've played that literally.
That's
probably
an old song.
600 times, maybe 800 times live, and so like, and not to mention how many times we played it, me personally, I'll probably play more. They basically practice in rehearsal a couple days before, but me, I'll work on stuff for like, a month before going on tour. So I've played it thousands and thousands of times. And when you add those times up playing that same pattern, I mean, it's powerful.
So you're at your house right now?
Yep.
In where actually? What place?
In Nashville.
Nice. Do you have a studio place where you can play drums there?
Yeah. I play downstairs. I've got 3 different kits set up. I've got a
sick
EW with like all the stacks and China and crashes and stuff. Then I have a Craviotto, and then a groove kit, basically.
Nice. The DW, you're endorsed by them right now, right?
Yep.
Sick. Like with the 2 kick drums and the sick wood kind of.
Yeah. I only have 1 kick set up right now. I just use a double pedal because it's a pain in the ass to set up around 2 kicks.
Like with cymbal stands and everything.
Yeah. And
I can imagine.
It also like requires me to have 2 microphones.
Yeah.
And right now I have, 1 kick, 1 snare, 2 overheads, 4 toms. So that's 8 channels that I have on my interface. So if I had 2 kicks set up, I'd need 9. And
then you would have to skip a tom or something, or like, what you want to do.
Or just add another interface, buy a whole other interface.
And
link it with.
I had the same problem. I only had 8 as well. And then sometimes I wanted an extra tom, and that didn't work because, But do you do it like snare bottom as well? Top and bottom?
No.
Only top?
Yeah. You can link them with a, what's it called? The light, it uses light. What's it called?
Like a recording device?
No, it's like to link 2 interfaces, you use a cable.
Yeah.
And information is transferred via a light signal.
Oh, infrared or something, or no?
Yeah, it's and
it doesn't matter.
Eluding me right now, but I mean, it could be useful for you because if you get
yeah, I had that sometimes that I thought I would like to have more inputs, because I did do snare top and snare bottom, and then I would have two toms because the third one I didn't have an input for. And then sometimes I would just, if I did the third tom, I would just record it once and then fucking put the audio in every place that because the overheads would record the tom, so I would like copy and paste the one hit I did, but that's so much time.
It's a fiber optic cable.
Cool.
Optical fiber cable.
And that will connect to interfaces to make it more inputs.
Yes. It helps them communicate. So
Yeah,
then
cool.
you put them together and you have 16. If you have the same interface, you have 16 channels.
Yeah. But you're okay with 8 for your recordings?
Yeah, I did buy another interface, but now it lives up here. And I have like you can kind of see I've got my keyboard.
Yeah.
And this just lives in there,
Oh, sick. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I have like this, which is not analog. It's, just
Yeah.
MIDI.
For recording, for writing songs.
Yeah.
Cool,
Yeah.
man. It was very nice to talk to Lang as well about your vision and what he taught, what you taught him. Like, and he said that you were very inspired by Dave DiCenzo.
Yeah.
Did you say that before, or yeah?
Oh
Right?
no,
Or,
I didn't. No, I didn't mention him. He was
No.
one of my teachers at Berkeley.
Because Lang said, yeah, a lot of your vocabulary comes from him as well.
Yeah, I would say I don't know how much. To be honest, I've really pulled from a lot of different guys, like
It's a
a
combination.
lot of gospel guys, to be honest, and a lot of fusion guys. Basically, that's where the new shit's happening. But I also I've studied jazz fairly extensively. Like my jazz teacher, he had me studying Elvin Jones transcriptions and Tony Williams.
Yeah, sick.
And he had me playing out of the Omni book, which is a saxophone book. And so he would basically have me play the
melodic phrases from
the
that.
heads of the Charlie Parker tunes, and then his Charlie Parker solos, which fucking rip, by the way.
That is sick. And then you had to play it over the toms and snare, and yeah, oh cool.
And so you're like, well, what do I do? At first you just play the rhythms on the snare.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, well now you gotta spruce it up. And he would just play all this stuff, and I'm like, where the hell are you pulling this vocabulary from? And he was pulling it from Tony
Melodies,
Williams, all these guys. So then you watch them and try to see what type of melodies they're making, how they're getting around the kit, and then you try to apply that to the Charlie Parker solo.
Cool. And that's how you get closer to that kind of playing style.
Yeah. It's a different mode of playing, because then you're not just playing the drums as an instrument. You're playing music really, and the drums just happen to be the instrument that you're playing a melody through.
Yeah. And then you would come up with things you would normally wouldn't play, because that would be muscle memory, and now you're having a melody in your head.
Yeah.
It works completely
you would
different.
hear like something like, and you'd be like, what? How would I play that on the set? It sounds like he's like, like there's two notes that are like, there's a low and high note, and they're going back and forth and like moving up. So then you're like, oh well, I would put one hand, I would split my hand up instead of keeping them together, and so you'd be like, up to toms or something. And then you're like, oh, that's a new idea.
Yeah, cool. And that's the bebop shit right there. The very full solos. Yeah, sick. Nice, man. Okay, let me check, because I think I've already had every question I wanted to ask you. Yeah, I was curious, like, do you do a lot of studio sessions, like from home, or that you get asked for a recording session?
Nah,
Would you
it's
like to, or why aren't you asked?
you know, I've done a few here and there that were like you know, little pop things that I was hired for.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, it's not like super fulfilling for me, and it's kind of just like um kind of like a sideshow to my regular life. You know,
Yeah.
ultimately I like to be a part of like collaborative efforts. So, you know, I wouldn't you know, guys like Vinny Colaiuta, they have an immense discography, and they
Yeah.
were session guys. They're back in that day, back in their heyday, there was so much session work to go around. And
That's
so
gotten less and less right now as well. Yeah.
yeah, and it's become less and less and less. And to be honest, like I've tried to go through Vinny Colaiuta's discography, like because I found obviously there's Vinny stuff that's incredible, like Joe's Garage, or like the Shut Up and Play Your Guitar album with Frank Zappa, the
Oh
Secret
yeah.
with Alan Holdsworth, um, Charisma
Oh
uh,
yeah.
album.
The
There's a
fusion
bunch of
shit.
really good
Yeah.
shit. Stuff that he's on with Chick. But like, you know, if you try to go through and just like randomly select like an album, it's probably not going to be that special because you know he's very much a hired gun. So
Yeah.
personally, I don't want that. I want somebody to look at my discography and maybe it's five things and they pick one and they go, okay, let's listen to that. And then they listen and they're like, holy shit, this is amazing. Like I want that to be like every
Ah,
thing
thing
that
you
I'm a
put
part
out.
of.
Yeah. Ah,
Yeah. So
cool.
like so really like, you know, side projects with like you know, Kazimir Libersky, that one that I did with him, and with Josh Della Victoria, the
Yeah.
Victoria
Yeah.
stuff. Uh and you know, stuff with animals and
It's all in the
basically
kind of prog vibe, in the kind of more complicated music, I would say.
yeah, yeah. And it's because, you know, ultimately I think, you know, that's where I'm most useful and
Where your playing
like
shines the most. Yeah.
yeah, and I'd like to break
Hmm.
some ground, you know. But yeah, uh I'm actually
Cool. That's a cool
at
thing
the
to
end of this
hear.
month I'm filming Mastering Time 3.
Nice.
Um this you know, I don't know if you're aware of the instructional series
I've
that
bought them all, man.
okay. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm finally doing it, and
Oh, sick.
I'm having a
What
bunch
are
of
some new things that are gonna be in there?
well, for one, kind of what we're talking about with just like I'm actually taking, you know, you'd think the third one is going to be the most complex shit, and there's going to be some complex shit in there, but also, you know, I'm having the guys that I most favor playing with, and like those neo soul jam nights, I'm having those guys come out, and we're all going to play in the studio. It's going to be 100% improvised,
Oh,
and we're just
cool.
going to have a bunch of different tracks, hopefully at the end, where you know little excerpts that are in there, and yeah, um,
Like bringing the examples to life in a real situation.
in a
Yeah,
real
cool.
situation, and yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
Um,
I'm looking forward to it, man.
hopefully, it's you know,
Does it take
yeah,
a lot of time to film that? Is it like you
three
make a
days. It's going to be
yeah,
three
but you
days.
have made the whole how would you say it? Like the whole clinic beforehand. You prepared everything, the material you're gonna go over, and
I had it. I had what I thought it Mastering Time 3 would be, um, like 3 years ago.
but that
But
changed.
I knew that I was missing something, and one of the things that I was really missing was like having real playing with real musicians in there. Um, and like this sort of like kind of bringing it back to the fundamentals of the foundation of groove and
Feel.
feel, man, because
Yeah.
like that's so
Yeah.
important. And I kind of missed that on Mastering Time 1 and 2, is a lot of technical stuff and a lot of that stuff.
More
But
theoretical maybe, and this is more like, and this is how you would use it in real life. Yeah.
yeah, or
That's
just
so
like
cool.
also just the idea of like, okay, well, what's feel and what's pocket? Are they different? You know? And like I'm kind of gonna kind of outline the small nuances, differences between those. And
Yeah, cool.
um yeah, I don't
Look,
know, just try to bring some natural philosophy into the fold, instead of just all like yang sort of masculine, technical philosophy.
yeah,
Yeah,
difficult stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, that's a cool thing because maybe a lot of people don't know that side of you, like the real groovy part, maybe. That would be
yeah,
nice. Yeah, cool.
yeah,
Looking forward to it, man.
yeah.
And I saw that you're playing with animals in November in the Netherlands this year.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Two venues in Nijmegen and in one, I don't know, like a
To be
boerderij, like a
honest,
farm somewhere. Oh,
to
you
be
don't
honest, I don't know.
know. You just show up.
I get on the plane and then I get off of that plane and then they stick me on a bus. And
Ah,
then I get on
shit.
the bus and it arrives on
Oh my God.
at the venues, and then I get on the bus again and it, take
Do
me
you
to the
like
next.
it? Tour life?
Yeah, it's got you become accustomed to it to some
Mm,
degree, um the longer that you do it, and you start to see the upsides, which one of them is um it changes up your home life. So like your home life can get monotonous, and the drudgery of day to day and your day
yeah,
to day routine can
yeah.
start to uh, lose life, and kind of you start to lose some inspiration and zest for and appreciation for
Where
you
you're
know
at right now.
the
Yeah.
environment. This, I have the
Mm,
perfect environment to create every day and
yeah.
practice. You start to
Oh,
lose
I feel that.
appreciation for that.
Yes.
And also it's the road like playing for people, hundreds or thousands of people in a night.
Never gets old.
Yeah, well, it does.
Oh yeah? Really?
Yeah, it's kind of shocking. Yeah, the longer you do it and the more you've been on the road, and like, because you're, as a human, you're being carted around. You're like human cargo, and like, bus catches on fire, and maybe it smells like, piss and shit because, some girl got on the bus and put toilet paper down the toilet. And so now it smells awful. And, your
Those things have
bunk might
happened.
be too close to the, to the bathroom and shit like that. And then you're like, that kind of just starts to wear on you. And you're like, all right, playing in front of these people is awesome, but that's 1 hour of my day.
And the rest is so much bullshit around it. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be, and
Sleeping in
so
a
like
bus. Yeah, maybe.
it's kind of like being on the road for like 2 to 3 weeks. You can do it. You can do it real, like at first when you're 20 years old, and or just below 30, and you're motivated, like you can do it for long periods of time, um and take it. But after a certain amount of years, then you're like, okay, 2 to 3 weeks seems to be like the good amount of time, maybe 6 weeks, but no longer than that. Um, and then, being home for an equal amount of time or a little more is, for me, really good, because I don't get
Yeah.
home and that some rock stars, they get home and then they're like, all right, now it's regular life. I hate regular life.
Yeah.
Me, I like regular life because
Yeah.
I fill it with shit. I'm like, I'm gonna practice today. I'm gonna work on this. I'm gonna and like
Yeah, you're
like
always motivated
you're-
to work on your own playing.
not always, but I mean, I always find a way.
Cool.
And yeah, sometimes it requires a sort of like science of figuring yourself out and like, okay, if I keep working on the same stuff all week long, then I'm gonna get sick of it. So there's got to be one day that I work on different stuff. Or every 2 to 3 weeks, I got to start to change what I'm focusing on.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, I need a day off. Like sometimes it's your body that needs a day off. Sometimes it's your creative spirit, because if you keep doing the same stuff every day in and day out, when you get on your instrument, you're not like, hell yeah, I'm on the drums. You're like, okay, I'm on the drums. I need to do
Let's
another
go
day
again.
of
Yeah.
practice, working on and getting better. And
Sometimes even when you took, if I speak out of experience, if I stop playing like 3 days, like the fourth day, it's even better than when I just played every day beforehand. Sometimes you need to take a break from the things you're studying.
Absolutely.
And then it kind of clicks in your head because you took a break. I don't know. Yeah.
Yes, that happens. That totally happens. And it happens like on a micro level too. Like you could be working on something really challenging, and apparently there's brain studies that show this, that like, hey, if you stop for like even just 5 to 10 seconds, then and you don't do anything else, you don't like get on your phone or something. Like, you just allow yourself to be for like 5 to 10 seconds. Your brain is cycling through those patterns and through those things. But also getting up for like 5 to 10 minutes and doing something else, and then coming back, then you can have it solidified. And also it ends up being like about once a week, sometimes twice a week. I need like a day where I'm not focused
Not
on
at the drums. Yeah.
And when you're younger, it's I don't know, I've seen younger guys get seduced by this, because it's a seductive idea that, oh, not being on my instrument is going to help me be really good at my
So
instrument.
you stop being productive. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So then you're like, oh, well, this time I didn't practice and I got better. And it's like,
it's finding the balance. Yeah.
It's
not
really
doing
about
anything at all. Yeah.
It's really about the body and mind not being a stagnant thing, and momentum and change, and novel stimulus gives us benefits, and great benefits.
Yeah. I think we're almost at the end. One last thing I would like to ask is, do you think of yourself, you have like a signature playing style? Of what would you say is your signature thing? If you listen to yourself, like records, do you have like a certain red line? Oh, nice, that's Matt Garstka.
I would like to think that I'm playing odd times, but groovy, making them groove nicely and feel good. And also that I have a knack for composing nicely detailed drum parts that embellish and kind of elevate the music that it's around. I like to think that I'm not one of these players that kind of plays over everything and is just like trying to fit stuff and forcing things in there
for the sake of being difficult.
I like to think of myself as a craftsman when I'm creating my drum parts. So
cool.
That's a constant work too. I don't think my work there is done.
And it didn't get there in 1 week or something. It took you years, I guess.
Yeah. Decades, really. Yeah.
Decades. Yeah.
And then I don't know, like
keeps evolving even.
Tens of thousands of hours. But
how much hours do you how many hours do you practice every day? Do you practice every day or like almost every day?
Pretty much. I mean, yeah, 5, 6 days a week I practice. It's much less
Nice.
than I used to.
Much less. Ah,
Yeah. I used to practice 6 to 8 hours a day, and
Jesus. When you were at Berkeley as
yeah,
well? Fucking hell.
yeah, yeah, and all my classes, and I was acing all my classes and stuff. I was like, I I didn't fuck around. Like
You
it
didn't fuck
after I got
around.
out of a class, I would do the homework for that class after I got out. That way I never had
Instantly.
to worry about homework. It
Yeah.
was never in my mind. Like, oh, I forgot that I have home. I would never. I just
You
do it.
always did it. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
well. But
And
now
like
like it's more
now
balanced.
it's more I've realized after doing so much training and um technical work, I've realized that it's about, like, I planted so many seeds. It's about reaping the harvest now, and trying to utilize the skills that I've developed uh to create unique
Yeah.
music. And I think that's the biggest um goal, really. And so,
Yeah.
like, having new compositions that I'm working on are and concepts, that's really the highly motivating factor.
Yeah.
Now, I don't get as motivated by, like, technical stuff, like working, oh, I've got an idea to work on this you know sheet
Because
that I came up with. This, I still do that, but
yeah.
it kind of runs its course a lot faster than I used to be. It's kind of like you're aware of the drug Adderall, right?
Yeah.
Well, when you do Adderall, you're very much capable of, like, doing spreadsheets for like 8 hours straight.
Yeah. Without
And
thinking too much and then just going for it. Yeah.
yeah. So, like, yeah, when I was you know by the way, I don't really do Adderall. When I was a kid, I
But
was
you just know
prescribed
the
it.
effect.
When I was like 13, I was prescribed it, and I took it for a while, and then I was like, I don't want this stuff. Like, I'm gonna prove I can do it without
Yeah.
Adderall, but, like, I'm aware of its effect, and so, like, when I was younger, I was way more capable of sort of practicing in that sort of way, like spreadsheet sort of way, where you're like, okay, I'm going to work on this, I'm going to work on, and it's highly detailed, and every waking minute, basically, you're trying to get these things done. Whereas nowadays, that doesn't motivate me. Not to the same degree. I can't do it for 8 hours
No.
physically either. So, like, nowadays it's more so about what does make me want to get off my ass.
Yeah.
And most times it's music.
Yeah.
It's really just like creating music, and
Yeah.
the opportunity to, yeah, try to you know change the direction of music, hopefully, something like that.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I can imagine that all of the technical parts, you some point in your life you've already gone through that. So what else is there? Like, yeah.
Well, I haven't gone through all the technical stuff. There's it's endless, really.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But, how much does one need to go through
Yeah.
to
Be fulfilled. Yeah.
yeah, and the thing is, if that's what you're seeking out, is to, be the master of everything technical, then
I don't
you
think that
can
has to be the
never
goal.
be, yeah, you can never be fulfilled.
No.
Your work will never be done.
No.
But I guess it's the same argument for music. If you're looking to create new music, um, your work can never be done. But yeah, there's something special about creating a piece that is cemented and now exists, Whereas like whenever you work on something technical and develop it, you know, it's not necessarily attached to a composition
No.
or a song, then, you know, it can easily fade out and die out.
Yeah.
So like I very much like the idea of like, you know, the good concepts, the really good concepts, giving them a home to live in, and that home being
A song or
song.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can always listen back to it and think, oh, nice, that was a technical thing I was working on at that time, and I incorporated in a musical way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks again, man. Thanks for your time. Thanks for being a part of my research.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's very inspiring to hear your thoughts about what you're doing right now, how you got your vocabulary, what your inspirations were. Thanks.
Yeah.
Nice. I will write all of this out. Like, I don't think right now, because it's like 11 right now. 11, 20 minutes after 11.
Yeah, you might have to condense answers.
Yeah, some parts. Yeah.
I give very long explanations sometimes. I'm not a concise individual.
Yeah, but that's nice, because we then drift off to some interesting things I wouldn't have thought about asking you. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
I will at least end the recording right now.